For the women in the 3,000 meters. Still 4 sections on the men's side to come, and then we'll wrap up our program. We promise you we'll wrap up our program with the 4x400 meter relays, but do want to express our appreciation not only for all of you joining us on runnerspace.com and Big Ten Plus, but again, this production team behind the scenes. It is a labor of love to be able to bring you these events on our platform each and every weekend, and sometimes spread these groups pretty thin. Multiple events happen in multiple venues around the country, and that'll continue through the weekend. Reminder that Big Ten Plus coverage will continue tomorrow from the University of Michigan. As we continue our Big Ten Plus coverage with the Simmons-Harvey Invitational. Keaton Gray will have the call of that tomorrow. Got more indoor action coming your way in the month of February as well. And then we're also excited that we'll be helping to bring coverage to you of the Big Ten Indoor Championship in February, when that event is held in Indianapolis. Our Big Ten friend, Lara Overton, has been traded to the SEC for future considerations. Was already on your schedule, but I know you've enjoyed that one. Though, you know, let's all be honest, it's been a pretty good football year for that Big Ten. I think maybe momentum is coming across all the sports. Maybe you'll have to come back to the Big Ten groveling for your role in our broadcasts.
Hey, it just keeps getting more and more interesting with these teams that have joined the Big Ten Conference. That's going to be a big shakeup for that meet, and have a lot of people who have been involved with that track, that venue in Indianapolis. It's gotten a lot of really good feedback. It'll be a fantastic location to host what I know will be an incredibly competitive event later. But you see some traffic and a few athletes going down, getting caught up in that trouble, and that's, you know, part of what you can have when you get, you know, close to 20 athletes on a 300-meter track racing 3,000 meters.
And that was well into the race, so they won't recall that race. It does give Nicole Bissell a chance to kind of get out into the lead. I believe it was Sydney Sundgren of Cal Poly that went down to the track, hip number 5. So we'll keep an eye for her. She is back up and running and has regained contact with that large group of runners here in the middle of the pack. But yeah, near disaster. You see that, you know, unfortunately, quite often in indoor track. They do usually afford the athletes the opportunity, and we saw that earlier in the day, to reset and come back to the line and restart if they're just a few meters into the race, but that one occurring much later in the race. But for the third consecutive race here, Lara, we've got a runaway as Bissell now through 800 meters in 2:34 and just seems to be pulling away with every stride.
She did a great job of positioning herself really early on so that she went out, got up front, didn't get caught up, you know, in any of the mayhem that unfolded behind her. But she has taken a commanding lead. When she went to the front, there was no looking back. She went directly up there to the lead and took advantage of her positioning. Taking a look here just at maybe the mark she could be chasing, 9:52 is her PR over 3,000 meters. Again, this is where we kind of talked about the atmosphere inside the track, where you have, you know, teammates and coaches and different things. This is where you need those people to come to life. You want those teammates, you know, helping to lift you up. If you're up front and all by yourself, as that fatigue starts to set in, it gets more and more challenging. Just any sort of boost you can get from inside the track can make a huge difference. Or potentially, maybe it's some of those guys who are out there preparing for the final heats of the men's 3,000 who can help you as well, give you an idea of if you're on pace, give you an idea of how close maybe the rest of the field is, or if someone might be closing in on you.
Well, Bissell, I think, giving back just a little bit of her lead now. She ran 1,200 meters in 3:51.4, but that is Oregon State's Molly Letisic that is trying to, I think, rather patiently and strategically, Lara, try to close the gap ever so slightly each lap. I mean, there's fewer laps, obviously, in a 3,000-meter race than a 5 or 10K, but still, you don't have to get it all back in one lap and try to burn out the engine and not have anything in the engine left to try to sprint this one home.
And that's the challenge for Bissell. You can see, looks like she might be getting some cues there as she goes into the turn, is, not necessarily having anything to chase, because she's not even close enough to the back of the pack necessarily to be coming upon lapping them as she comes around to the front stretch where she is right now. So you almost just have to key in on, certain positions at a point in the track. You can now, this is a great vantage point. Kudos to our production crew and our camera operators for showing us exactly what that distance is. But Bissell is just going to have to find key points on the track to try to chase, to maintain pace, and then know once you get to, especially maybe 2 laps to go, that you're going to need to give everything that you have. Anything left in the tank has to go toward trying to get that win and get likely a time that she's chasing.
It just starts to look like on the face of Bissell, it's starting to hurt just a little bit. Maybe the fluidity in which we saw her run in those early laps is just starting to look a little bit labored. We'll obviously give her the benefit of the doubt. She remains in the lead, but that lead has not extended. It looks as though maybe it's getting, again, carved out ever so slightly. The instructions from the Oregon State coaching staff to Letisic is be patient, but now 3 laps to go. She's going to start to have to make her move now. I don't think she is as close as she would like to be with just those 3 laps remaining, a little over a K to go, or a little less than a K to go.
This is where it can really benefit you. You don't maybe want to totally start your kick, but what you can do in the front of the pack is just throw in a slight surge, just a couple of strides to quicken the pace, and then settle back in so that you can shake things up, almost kind of allows you to reset and keep yourself, kind of on alert to some degree. And typically when you do that, although you settle back in, you're not going to slow down as much so to the pace that you were previously running when you're able to throw in a quick burst like that. And then also what that does is it shakes up maybe the confidence of the athlete in pursuit of you too, if the athlete doesn't see that he or she is gaining any position when you're able to do that. So, every, say, 100 meters or so, trying to throw in 2 or 3 strides just a little bit quicker as you try to settle in, because you're so close to this point of that finish line.
Kelly Gaffney of Cal Poly has now moved up and has entered the conversation here with a lap and a half to go as she is closing in on Letisic of Oregon State. It is still Washington State's Nicole Bissell, who's going to come across the turn. There you see Louis Quintana, the coach at Oregon State, trying to will his athlete back into the mix. But how about Kelly Gaffney? She's going to move into second, and may she be the one to actually finally close the gap and make this a race against Bissell. 1 lap to go, and the lead is closing.
What a job Gaffney has done of just maintaining patience and using every bit of time to reel in the athletes up in front of her. And look, all she's done is gain confidence over the course of this race, and now she's at a full stride, full sprint.
And a half lap to go, and she is now pulling away from Bissell and Letisic, and is going to close out what turned out to be a more patient race than we saw from anyone else. Look at her go to the arms as she is now well ahead of the leaders. There is a change there for second as Oregon State's going to overtake Washington State in that battle in the Pac-2. And Kelly Gaffney, 9:43.43 officially, blasts it home. And what a finish for her here in the 3,000 meters. Not even in the conversation at 2K when they came through in 6:31. Love to know her split over the last K, because it was, well, what's the word I would use? Quick.
Indeed it was, and she obliterates her career best 3,000 meters so far prior to today, 10:22.30.
Yeah, I'd say that was good.
Wow.
Well, credit to Mark Conover and the folks down at Cal Poly. They really turned that into a great program down there. Great heritage in track and field, certainly, over the years. As they'll move now to the men's field here shortly, but our winner again in that women's 3,000 final section.
Give it a little shout out to the fans, the friends. You have
I got to stop talking so those people can hear from her. But yeah, hopefully some celebrations all around for them after a